Hello there. Today we're going to talk about agents. This is a concept that's being discussed quite a lot in sort of early adopter circles, and it seems to be the direction that a lot of this large language model and generative AI technology is going. In short, an agent is a layer surrounding the large language model itself that lets it use tools and to a degree make decisions on its own. So I like to think of agents as sort of three different tiers. We'll work through each of those. Starting at tier zero, which is not an agent, I like to think of this one as basically the human talking to the model and the model generating a response. It's just the model itself. There's a little human talking to a robot. At that point, there is no real agent in play. Layer one, though, is when you start to wrap the model with logic and potentially with multi-step prompts of the model to let it use tools. So an example is kind of the current early 2024 implementation of the ChatGPT product. You can ask it a question and it could just respond directly to the question using the model, but they've also given it the ability to go out and search Bing. So that sort of web search is an example tool. They've also given it the ability to write and execute little test scripts. So if you ask it a complex math problem, it's going to take a multi-step approach, not necessarily that I'm giving it multiple prompts, but within the logic of the ChatGPT product, it will take a multi-step approach to say, here's what I need to do. Here's the Python script that I should execute to test this. It'll write together the script, it'll test it, it'll get the result, and then it'll respond to you with that result. So you could think of step one as sort of multi-step tool use. Step two is where you move a bit more beyond responding to specifically that user's individual question and making decisions about what should happen next. So an example might be that you give the agent a generic instruction like help me understand how we should optimize our product set relative to XYZ customer. And so then in addition to just having the tools at its disposal, you're also letting effectively the large language model make the decision as to what should happen next. So it might be that under the hood, this is again not a user giving multiple prompts, but under the hood, there's a sequence of orchestrated steps where you might say, or the program might say that the agent should first decide what its first step should be. Its first step might be to go out and research the competitor's offering on their websites and that sort of thing. So then maybe it uses the tool to go browse the web and comes back. And then the second step might be to go in and look at internal product documentation. And so in that sort of way, it can orchestrate itself through a multi-step process. And each step along the way, you're really asking the large language model, or the program is asking the large language model to decide what to do next. And then it's also using the tools. So step two is sort of decisions, but still for a user outcome. And then step three is really this sort of aspirational additional layer above that where we aren't necessarily needing to give the agent an outcome like go compare our product sets or something like that. It could be that you give it a high level directive to do something like reduce human suffering or improve the food supply in this nation. And so it could kind of go to much deeper analysis layers and much deeper decision layers. And so step three would be you're sort of giving it a high level guiding principle, but then it's able to decide even what outcome it wants to go for. So two real thoughts here. First, we're somewhere in here. We are squarely in the realm of orchestration layers that are using tools and using these models to do really cool things. ChatGPT, the product, is a great example of that. The second layer there, I feel like we're in the early stages of that. These can do some good things. They can do things like web crawling. They can do things like testing small bits of code, and they can make decisions as to which of those they should do. But the models themselves are not just quite at the level of solving more complex outcomes. And we certainly aren't at the level of kind of turning these models loose to have sort of full authority to decide what outcomes it would like to solve for a sort of higher level guiding principle. The second concept I'll mention is that an agent doesn't necessarily need to act alone. It could be that you have a series of agents all sort of working together, and each one might have its own purpose. And then you could even give them the ability to spin up other agents. So there's some great stuff by David Shapiro and a group of open source folks. I believe it's called the Haas framework, where they were effectively building kind of a corporate hierarchy structure. So there would be an agent at the top that's making the sort of strategic decisions. There would be a number of agents for perhaps ethics, for strategy, for engineering that are kind of all reporting up through this kind of oversight agent. And this could be sort of viewed as the board of directors. And then each of these agents may be able to spin up their own little sort of task tool agents. Maybe the ethics agent spins up something to write compliance reports, and the engineering agent spins up something to write unit tests. So you could have these sorts of swarms of agents that are potentially short-lived. An agent might serve its purpose. It might be created by another agent. Yeah, you could have, of course, another agent that's purpose is to create agents. So that's an interesting concept and an interesting angle. As we get further down this spectrum, this will be more and more important to ensure that these large language models are well aligned with human beneficial outcomes. You could certainly immediately jump to the Skynet Terminator metaphor as you get down into, the agent is deciding what it should do and how it should do it. So this is the concept of agents. It's a really powerful sort of thing, and we're, I would say, somewhere between stage 1 and 2 of the different layers that I just described here. But I think this is a direction that a lot of these spaces and technologies and business processes will end up going. I hope that was valuable. Thanks for watching.